The thing, TheShy does play Orn, but he plays at a very aggressive style. So when you want to be, hey, we're managing where the pillar placement is, where we want to try and control space, that hasn't always been the strength of TheShy, especially on this pick. So I think this is going to be a moment of, can you try and control that space better than Bin? Because Bin Ksante has looked legendary over the course of this tournament in summer.
When I think back to his play against KT, that was one of the most individually impressive games I've seen all at Worlds. He took over that game on the Ksante. But I think there's so much pressure on Elk and On in this one. Because if Caitlyn Lux does not get ahead, you just do not have the damage to actually win against this team comp. I really do not think that you do. Caitlyn is the one who has to put out the DPS. Jayce, yeah, you're going to do some damage, but you're not killing frontliners. It's really all on the Caitlyn. So much pressure on them to be able to dominate this 2v2. If they fall behind, if they get ganked and they die, you could very quickly see Weibo run away with it.
And you can see the amount of wards that are being invested defensively here for Weibo on that bottom side. They know that they want to, at least for BLG, to get a ward in on this bot side, spot out where Weiwei's starting, to know how aggressive they can play in this bot lane. But at the moment, they're just not quite getting that deep vision with the defensive setup Weibo have. Exactly.
If you can get eyes on the Maokai, then you can push, right? You can be playing aggressively in that way. And we've seen a lot of different matchups where it's been so important. You know, with the Ashes and the Varus coming through, with the Caitlyn support along the Kalista, that was really important. With the Quinn, it's been a theme throughout this entire series. And that early ward is going to be thrown down on bot's eye, but they have no vision on Weiwei just yet. You can see Xun's going to be starting leashed on top side with Bin, so he's going to be starting on that red, very likely will path down to try to cover his bot. We'll see if Weiwei is going to do anything too cheeky, if he wants to go 3 camps down towards bot, or just do a more standard clear up towards top.
So much on the line here, man. Coming down to game 5, Bin on the Ksante. It was a struggle for him in the first 3 games. The lanes were all very tough. Game number 4, the Jax into the Quinn. He bounces back. He has his first really, really good performance throughout the series. And now on this pick that, like you pointed out in the series against KT, was truly something impressive. There's a lot of pressure on him too, I would have to think.
It's also really interesting to see that Weiwei actually went for the red smite, because generally to me that means you're going AP. You know, that's usually what you do see, but he is playing phase rush, and he's also playing on a team with Azir, so I don't really feel like you need to be going in towards AP. You know, generally people are more prioritizing the tank style builds these days, so will be interesting to see if he's just kind of splashing into it for a little bit of damage, or if it's actually going to be that demonic embrace rush.
Yeah, I've seen him quite a bit go for that demonic embrace, so I wouldn't be fully surprised to see that one come through. Even just the opportunity.
You like it when you're not solo AP?
I mean, I do agree, but I still have seen a lot of LPL.
Yeah, I'm not saying you're wrong. I was just curious on your opinion.
Yeah, I think I still like it in a way just because there is so much frontline damage that you can at least poke down with the demonic embrace as you try to take space, because Xun will inevitably start to take a lot of that, and I think the tank shred is going to be tough in the early stages until Xiaohu gets a little bit later in. But yeah, I still think it's not fully necessary, but I can kind of see an angle as well as great binding in that bot side for On, where you're going to have a good amount of control now.
And Elk was actually able to hit the Q right before it, so getting a little bit of poke, getting that push in. And we'll see if they can keep this push up relentlessly. They absolutely want to. We know, of course, that Maokai's up on top side. They can surmise that as well, as there was no sort of move down towards bot. They do have their Sejuani clearing down towards bot as they just keep this push up.
Right, they had Xun in the red side jungle of Weiwei. He threw down the ward onto the Krug camp. We know a lot of the times when these junglers are making their moves down through the lanes to find their path into bottom, they go through the Krugs, right? They're either jumping onto the Krug with a movement skill or taking the blast cone over the wall, so they want to keep an eye on that camp both for clear and for potential gank opportunities.
It does mean that Weiwei's going to have a little bit more tempo, though, because he didn't spend any time doing anything except farming. He went 6 camp, scuttle, base, right? Whereas Xun, you know, is just now finishing his 6th camp, is going to do the scuttle, then he's going to recall, so he's going to be a good 30 seconds behind the pace of where Weiwei is. So we'll see if Weiwei does just kind of charge out straight towards bot lane, because it doesn't look like he's heading to his Raptors that have respawned. So he may be looking for some sort of a lane gank angle, or at least covering his bot lane as Light and Crisp do try to push out.
All right. Just taking that long trip down bottom lane as Xun not going to go back and buy his first item here. Instead, just still hanging around this enemy jungle. He fires off the Scryer's plant, and it finds Weiwei. They knew that this had to have been the plan.
That is such a tilter, and now they have full knowledge that it's around, so he can steal the Raptors very easily. There's not really any ability to punish, because the wave is going to come towards Elk and On, so sure, they maybe get a little bit of a less preferential base, but Xun gets to steal the camp for free, and he could look for Azir.
Well, Bin with a nice little knockback onto TheShy, but unfortunately doesn't have a lot of
mana
left to work with. Now hold on, Xiaohu in some trouble here. Gets stunned up. Yagao following up with the damage, and now the Jayce gets paid its first blood over to Yagao. Meanwhile, back in the bottom lane, the 2v2 breaks out. On's in some trouble. So much damage pours in, and Light pierces his heart.
Nicely done. They got that kill on the bot side on. But I was watching on the minimap. I saw the Q flash come through from Xun. I have to think that Xiaohu flashed into the wall. Just based on what actually happened with those flashes and the way that we saw him run out. It's possible he just flashed left, but they were so close to that wall, I feel like he tried to reactively flash maybe after and couldn't get over that wall. I kind of want to see it again to see exactly what did happen, but On dying on bot side is really bad. And I'm not even sure if we saw them. Did we see when he blew his flash? I don't think we did. So he must have traded flashes with Crisp and then just gets punished from that missing flash. So a lot of the action we unfortunately missed.
Yeah, so we're going to get to see at least a little bit of it here. So On tries to get the poke down, and immediately the handshake comes through, like cleanses. And once you've got the W from the Renata on you as well with the bailout, you're just going to continue to chase down this lane. So there's no escaping. But yeah, I'm not sure exactly what happened with Xiaohu.
Traded flash.
Yeah, but I think with Xiaohu, yeah, I think one definitely failed a flash somewhere along the line. But I think a bit disrespectful from him anyway, because realistically, you saw Xun pop the blast cone, or the Squire's Bloom, so you should have known that he was in the area, and now Xun in the area once more, just trying to cover Yagao here.
Yeah, maybe a little bit of greed. Potentially he just thought he popped the blast cone in the base, but you know, he should have known that he could have been going for the Raptors, absolutely, and I think maybe just got caught trying to push in that wave. And at the end of the day, you are now down your flash, and there is a chance of a repeat gank. Up in the top lane, things pretty quiet, but you know, Bin is having the push, so he does have prio there, and we'll just have to see how this bot lane continues to look, because with the kill on Kalista, it gets so much tougher. It is going to be the early tier 2 boot, so he's going to be able to sidestep a lot of these skill shots, a lot of those abilities, and the all-in is almost always going to be won by the Kalista Renata.
And as long as you've got that control, you're going to be fine. But I think they need to try and get Weiwei involved a little bit here, just to see if they can get, you know, another flash burned on towards Elk or anything like that, just before the next, well, before they try and go for Dragon. But I don't think they're really in a position to go for this here. I think it's more of a case again of trying to get vision control on this bottom side to let Crisp and Light play aggressive.
Exactly. They had control enough in the bottom lane to have priority over that river, secure themselves the crab, that permanent extra vision and speed boost, helping them out in case there's anything else that happens down here. But it's been still controlling the pace of things up here in the top lane. TheShy's doing a good job staying close with them here on the farm. But as long as Bin has control, Bin will be the one with first move opportunity.
Yeah, and I think that's where, at least with Xun moving up towards topside, he should be safe. But the fear is now with knowing Xun has to go topside for his red buff, that with Weiwei just immediately tries to go for bot side. You can get control over mid with Xiaohu here as well and set up for a really nice dive for going the Rift Herald contest.
Look at this vision, though, down around bot side. It is just all blue wards in this area, covering the entire river. They have so much vision down there, and you can see that Elk and On are no longer comfortable push. That's why they were holding the wave in front of their tower. They were trying to freeze because they know our jungler's not here. We've got no idea where the Maokai is. We can't push.
And Weiwei is level 6. The power of the Maokai ulti, if they want to set up one of these dives, if they want to go for one of these plays. Maokai also being a champion who has an aggro drop in his Twisted Advance to further facilitate those dives. And here they go. On throws out the binding, but it's not going to be enough just yet. Elk uses the cleanse, but he's not the target just yet. On having a flash, but he still dies. Elk's going to be hunted down, and Light gets a double kill. Weibo are running the bottom lane.
That is huge for Weibo, but TheShy needs to try and hold on to this top side. He'll be fine, but the fact you now get the kills for the Kalista, the control finally for Weibo on this bottom side, means that they're able to set up for Dragons. They can play around this Kalista, and they can look to take over the map.
And Elk, you really need to be able to block this Maokai ult for On, but they're kind of desynced. And not only does he eat it and cleanse, but the hit still lands onto On there, so he goes down. Then the flash follow is there with the bailout. Weiwei's just tanking the tower, perfectly executed there by Weibo. And BLG's bottom lane falling apart. We talked about the importance of this Caitlyn having a good start, and it is just horrible for them down there. And you can see the reaction from Tabe. He knows their final chances are slipping away.
And Azale, you talked about it from literally game one, how good Crisp has been on this Renata. The fact that he's able to get that handshake follow-up, he's been so good at being in control, being able to push his limits. And if you end up in this position where you're able to play around Light effectively, it becomes very hard for Xun or Bin to get access to him with Crisp having the bailout, with having that ultimate, the hostile takeover, to try and dissuade BLG from being able to threaten him.
Exactly. When you have that fed Kalista, that becomes target number one. You have to take him down. But between Maokai ult, the hostile takeover, the Azir ulti, the Orn peel, it's just so impossible to actually just single out this one target and dive through everyone. BLG, though, going to try to make a counterplay up on top side. They have the Herald, and Elk has made the move.
They see Weiwei here with the Gromp, so they know if nothing else, he might try to rotate up here and help this. They're waiting in the tri-brush. They're going to go for Weiwei instead. The binding doesn't hit him. Weiwei just flashes out over the wall. He'll stay safe here, and the minion wave won't last long enough to try to convert it into a play on the Shy. Meanwhile, bottom lane, there's just nothing to be said about the Kalista and Renata pressure from BLG. They can't answer these two champions. Laser over the wall, stops the Shy from any sort of a back, but Xun doesn't have an angle to go in here and try to force a dive. There's no minion wave, and bottom is still losing plates. Xun is still hanging around. They're really trying to hard force this, but the Orn Horn is summoned up. On gets knocked up into the air. The light binding finds the enemy Orn, but there's no way they can follow it up with enough damage here just yet. Weiwei and the Shy still trying to hold on as Xun has to walk away, and BLG just fizzle out as plates are smashed in the bottom lane.
They get nothing, and they committed so many resources up towards this top side. At one point, they had all 5 members up in that top quadrant before Yagao went back to mid. Bin runs down towards bot. The Shy has TP, he can just come right back up. They are going to drop the Heralds because they're just in desperation mode. Caitlyn's down 1,000 gold. They know they need to start knocking down towers. They need to get out of that 2v2, but this took a lot for them to get. And the Kalista farmed so many plays down on bot side.
And that's the thing, because you've now got Light, who's in such a good position after getting those plates. You will get another charge, I believe, onto the tier 2, but you had to invest so many resources here as BLG. And even the fact that Xiaohu got to move back across, he got to pick up that big wave in mid. Bin struggling a little bit here as well, as Light would get another plate for himself. You did get the tower, but you're still here for Weibo.
Elk in danger. 90 caliber net back over the wall to escape before they can close the distance there with Weiwei to chase after him with Twisted Advance. It's a 3-1 game in kills for Weibo, but it's nearly a 1,000 gold lead for BLG after their forcing of the entire tier 1 turret in all 5 plates.
Exactly, it is really tough, and it's about where the gold is, right? Dagda pointing out it's nearly 1,000 gold lead in that bot lane even after that tower was taken, so Light's in a great spot. And I just think compositionally, what Weibo has hard outscales what BLG have. So I do think that is going to be the real difficulty here, is I just struggle to see how you're going to get past the front line when they're starting to stack up a ton of armor.
Yeah, I will say, though, for Xiaohu, I'm not a big fan of the crown here. You can see there how easy it is to try and get rid of it. Now, it does work against Jason, like, hey, I can at least stop one of these from chunking a massive amount of my health bar, but I think the Andrew's Anguish with the amount of tanks that are on BLG could have worked out a little bit better, because late game, you need to be that tank buster on Weibo.
I mean, I'm assuming he's just going to Nasher second and playing around that Conqueror, but I agree, you would obviously do a lot more DPS. The one thing I will say, obviously there's a lot of, maybe going to be something here? No, nothing. So there's a lot of hate towards Crown, and I do agree in a lot of cases it can be poked off, and it's just straight up way less damage than Leandry's. But that being said, even against something like Jayce poke, later on in the game, that can be 30% of your HP that you're actually shrugging off. So it can become impactful, but the problem is, of course, the cooldown's so short that you can constantly shoot them out. So it does have value. It's not as bad, I feel like, as people make it out, but definitely not the optimal DPS choice by any means.
Yagao rotating down through the river now, wants to see if they might be able to find something here in the bottom lane, or at least clear out some of the vision that Weibo have been controlling this bottom side with for so long. Here in this 5th and final game, the gold closed back down under a 500 difference as Bin hangs around the mid lane, but there's not really an opportunity to do anything here to Xiaohu as Yagao rotates back.
Yeah, it felt like Bin was trying to control mid in case something happened or Xiaohu overextended, but it just means the Shy gets to push out top side, and now he'll be the one that actually gets first rotation down towards the Dragon that's in a couple of seconds time. So honestly, if you're kind of looking at where BLG are positioning, they're not quite being able to play the map in the manner that they would like to right now.
This is also so interesting. The Shy is actually going CDR boots. I would have expected Tabby's almost 100% of the time because it's hyper efficient against this squad. But I think he's saying, I am the engage, so I want to have that cooldown reduction. He's placing value on it. Clearly not concerned about his tankiness. We'll see if that does come back to haunt him at all, because there is obviously a lot of physical damage, but knows he's going to be primary engage and just really investing into that.
Almost up to the demonic embrace there on Weiwei's Maokai as well. You can see he's got the components, just needs to be able to put them together, and that's going to create even more of a frustrating scenario if Weibo are able to be the first ones to an objective. If Weibo are the ones who can force BLG to check into them, having saplings waiting around in all these brushes will be a nightmare to try to navigate for BLG. It's Weibo already starting up the second Drake of the game here for themselves, and it doesn't look like BLG's got anything to respond to it with.
I mean, how do you respond to the boots bore Kalista at this point of the game? Like, she is so incredibly strong, and I think BLG do the right call of just saying, look, we can't really contest this. It gives the opportunity for Bin to push in on that top side. Maybe they can try and get some vision on this top side of the map as well for things like Rift Herald, but I think you're kind of in the same position. And the Mastercard lane economy snapshot tells the story right there. This Kalista is massive in this game.
Yeah, and great. There's a big gold lead, but it's on your Sejuani. Honestly, who cares? It doesn't really have any effect on this game. So it is going to be problematic here as, yeah, you can try to wait. You can try to find a better opportunity to fight. I agree the Kalista is incredibly strong now, but you're also just giving time for TheShy to get levels on the Orn, to be able to get those Orn upgrades in, for Xiaohu to complete his second item. Traded flashes.
Crisp with the flash handshake attempt, but On and Elk evaded. That was both summoner spells from the Lux. He is a massive target now. There is no way for him to get away from anything that Weibo throw at him, so you know they got to be looking.
You see TheShy is playing incredibly safe on top side, but it does mean that Bin and Xun are starting to move over. Weibo don't really have control of this mid lane and can push up for fear that they're going to be outnumbered here. You see Xiaohu moving up through river. Could look for some sort of swoop and boop, but you do need to be careful.
Rift Herald was aggroed by BLG, but they are not going to put any DPS into it. Weibo are bringing the whole crew over. Yagao is still down in the bottom lane, but he has a teleport to try to join this if he wants to. It's still so scary for BLG to try to do this. These rivers, when you're up against hostile takeover, when you're up against the Call of the Forge God, when you're up against that twisted advance, it's so difficult to deal with.
Xiaohu needs to reset to cover Jayce on the bot side of the map, so that's why Weibo is starting this up. They will lose bot tower, but honestly, you're kind of doing what you need to here as BLG. You avoid the fight, you still get a tower, and that's essentially what this Rift Herald is going to guarantee for Weibo as well.
Exactly. I think it's actually really good for BLG. You know, they need to stack gold. They need to get this Jayce in a point of power because the Caitlyn is pretty darn far behind. So you get that tower bot, you deny probably at least 2 waves with the earlier waves that crash, plus you're going to get these, and you steal away Krugs. So sure, they're going to get a charge in mid, and they're probably going to take down that tower, but really not a big deal. And we'll see if Yagao can get himself into a point where he can really start to get very, very strong. We saw it, I think it was the game from Zeus, where he went super crazy in the late game. If you get in towards Shojin, you get in towards those super high CDR builds, you can actually hit the point where you're getting 2 shot blasts per acceleration gate, and that's where Jayce, I think, kind of becomes actually a strong late game champion. But of course, you still then have to be getting that past all those frontliners.
Okay, nicely done from Bin. He waited for the Bellows Breath so TheShy would not be able to immune the ulti, but now he's looking to keep this going. He goes unstoppable again. Flashback over the wall from TheShy. Q3 comes out from Bin. He doesn't have enough damage just quite yet, but the Ksante takes him down. It's a solo kill for Bin.
It's a dash, bash, but Bin is able to come out on top, and now, with that struggle, they're coming in for mid lane as well.
They go for the Maokai ulti. They find Xun here in the front as they follow it up with a hostile takeover. Oh, it's going to be the first kill, and Weibo are looking for more. They chase after the Sejuani, who does not have his Arctic armor or the Aftershock any longer, but they won't find anything else. Xiaohu still potentially looking here. He has the ulti available, way down to half HP, but they got to be careful on the other side too. Xun also half health from the Sejuani, Light on the Kalista, leading the minions down the mid lane to take out the tier 1 turret and bring this game back to dead even goal.
Light was too low to really follow up, but Weibo were still able to escort BLG out of that mid lane to set up then for the mid lane tower take, and crucially, without that Rift Herald being used as well. So that means in a minute 20, well, maybe not quite with the time that's on the Rift Herald, they should still be able to put pressure on the map to try and get this dragon.
BLG are just kind of getting destroyed by these Maokai ultimates. The last one down in bot lane killed On. This time again, they try to line up, but not quite able to do it. As you can see, On just gets tagged by the very edge of it, and as soon as he CC'd up, there's just no way out. They put some good burst down onto Light, but it was never going to be enough to get a kill.
Meanwhile, back to live. TheShy is the target yet again. It's a 3-man collapse. Make it 4 with a TP. Yagao goes to the skies. TheShy goes to the dirt. Elk gets the kill.
TheShy was way overextended. Look where the rest of Weibo are on the map. They're not pushed up. They're not in position to go for Dragon. And that's just a quick pick for BLG before that objective spawns. And much needed gold into the hands of some of these carries.
Yeah, that's really good. And I think even just getting some confidence for Bin. Had a great game last game. This game again gets a solo kill and really is getting himself to a point where he could maybe be that X factor, because you are going to have a tough time against this team that Weibo has drafted in the late game. You need someone to be the X factor. You need someone to really pop off. We saw it against KT. Maybe we'll see it here against Weibo as well. Bin can make magic happen when he's playing at his best.
15 seconds till the third Drake of the game spawns. First two have already gone the way of Weibo. If they can get early soul point status here in this game, it'll create an immense amount of pressure on BLG for the rest of it. You still don't have the fully evolved Muramana for Yagao's Jayce. Lux Laser flies out and finds Light, but that's it. Sejuani ultimate goes right between two, as now the Maokai ulti's ready for the counterattack, and Bin TP's into the middle. TheShy's not going to find his engage here yet. Hostile takeover hits the Ksante, and meanwhile the Orn Horn flies over the top. Binding almost finds Light, but not quite yet. TheShy's here, tanking up in the front, but he's gonna die. Elk gets the kill, and the Shuffle tries to buy a little bit more time. Crisp is gonna be shot through the head as On kites Light away. A double kill back over to Elk, and now it's BLG crushing Weibo. Yagao with an accelerated shock blast, and he'll cut down the tree. Xiaohu at least takes Bin, and he might get a second. The Emperor of Shurima will die before the third, as Elk takes Light out of the picture, and BLG get the ace.
BLG take over at the Dragon. They make the fight happen. Coming in from all angles, knocking down TheShy early, being able to push out the carries and take the fight.
This was so well played. Look how slow BLG actually played this. They're looking for the poke, playing at range, and when this deep TP comes in, BLG back it up. Weiwei ult doesn't really connect onto targets that are actually viable to hit. Elk gets knocked up by Orn, but no one's there to follow, and once that's all gone, that's when they turn.
And look at how Yagao played this so well. On the bottom side, he retreats from the hostile takeover as well as that Maokai ult, then goes in, gets tons of damage out, is able to follow up alongside Bin here, really making the difference. His on the other end was kiting out Light. He couldn't get there. His support was already down as Elk was able to knock him down, and BLG just played this out so smart, being able to chase these members around. Light, lying in wait, is able to actually step up and get this kill onto On, which sucks, but Elk gets the shutdown and a lot of gold right where you need it.
Right back into live, right back into a fight. Maokai ulti flies out and Shun's under a lot of pressure. The damage flies into the Sejuani, and he dies as hostile takeover finds Yagao. He's shuffled back into Weibo. Massive shutdown over to Light. Weibo just found everything.
How the hell did they find them at all there? Weibo come back in. They play around the choke, and they're onto the Baron.
Baron started up, 5v3. Bin, Elk, and
Weiwei's
On
low.
have to try to pull off the defense. TheShy down to 10% HP. Weiwei is going to be taken low too. Bin zoning the rest out as TheShy will finally fall. Kalista with a ton of spears into the Baron as Elk is under pressure from Xiaohu. Bin is all out, but he's only one man. He goes back in and he finds a kill, but it's still Baron over to Weibo. It's still Bin about to go back over to Weibo. It's Weibo all day.
Weibo get the Baron, they get the kills. On, searching, not gonna have enough damage to knock them down. They're gonna TP in, they wanna try to keep the chase going, but there's nothing to chase. They're gonna be able to get out, and it's that pick on Yagao, on Xun, that started it all. And we gotta see how this started off. No, we're gonna go way past it. As I thought BLG would push in and try to actually take down Weiwei to try to deny the Baron from being secured, but Light and Weiwei in the back of the pit kind of get ignored, and in goes Xiaohu just flashing in, dashing in on top of that Caitlyn, able to take him down.
And this is such a massive turnaround for Weibo. What had just started off, what could have been their first stepping stone from BLG to make it back to their second international final. The super team that was meant to be from the LPL puts a stamp on this game.
And this is why this team was built. It was built to be a super team, to be able to have international dominance, to be able to make these deep runs in tournaments. But after their performance in the LPL, no one thought it was going to happen. And now, coming into the semifinals, they've been doubted. They've been called frauds. They haven't beaten the Eastern team. They haven't played the top competition. Their time in the tournament is over. Well, here they are, one game away, potentially minutes away from going to the World Finals.
I mean, it's 2018, 2019 world champions in both of these positions, but it's been Weiwei who was denied that opportunity alongside Light to get to the world champions for a while.
Shun wants to go in on the Shy. He lands Sejuani ulti with a Bellows breath, manages to get through it. They fire off their own counterattack on Weibo's side, and Bin's looking like a pin cushion. He disengages but barely stays alive. Crisp now nearly killed. Shun also at death's door. BLG will hold on, but they are critically low. Weibo still looking for an opportunity to re-engage. Only Crisp is really threatened here. Xiaohu taking a lot of poke. Now has to eat the ace in the hole as well. Crisp could not tank that for him, as now a TP is coming in. Weibo still trying to get themselves out. Bin wants something. He sees Weiwei behind him, pushes him back. Wants to go for the all-out, but he won't knock him through the terrain. Bin still in hot pursuit, trying to find a knock-up, trying to find a knockback. Won't find a damn thing. BLG hold the line.
They hold the line with 30 seconds left on the Baron buff. That's going to time out, and BLG have prevented Weibo from taking the base, and that is huge against what Weibo have. You can see when you're trying to siege up against a Caitlyn, Lux, Jayce, how difficult it can be. So for BLG, they bought time, they get the resets in, but another dragon in a minute's time.
Yeah, and it's just going to be fight after fight after fight. Yagao now has that last whisper in. We'll see if Elk's going to be going towards LDR here next. It feels like he needs it, but there's also been just so much chip and so much poke that it feels like getting thrown in that I could see him wanting to go towards a BT as well. But at this point, you just need that damage. And we'll see if they're going to be able to get it. I mean, if you can work towards this Mountain Soul, it would be really impactful here. Stacking up that additional armor, the additional MR, and if you can get towards Soul, I think it's huge for either team.
I think you need to try and get this control over your lanes though first for Weibo. If you can stop BLG from entering River, you're in a much better spot for these like long range engages, the ultimates from Chris, to just keep BLG in check. And that's where you can see Weibo aggressively fighting for this space. They have full control, Dragon in 10. It's going to be hard for BLG to try and crack this.
And you can see TheShy already has his upgraded Orn item there, is 14 now. So the upgrades are going to be coming through for the teammates here very shortly. And that is going to make that gold lead lie to you a little bit. It's that additional scaling, that extra power that Orn does bring.
Gargoyle Stone Plate, second fully completed item for Bin. Gives you that massive shield to make the difference in the team fights. But there is no team fight. BLG are deciding to cash in on the extra time they bought themselves in taking the last Drake. They will surrender this one without a fight over to Weibo. Weibo moves on to Soul Point. BLG will not have the option of letting those go in the future.
And that is massive for Weibo. If you're able to pick up these Mountain Dragons, as Hale was saying, like keeping Yagao at bay, keeping Elk at bay, when there's so much AD damage on this team, that's such a massive opportunity to turn this around. And honestly, I'm kind of surprised to see Xun going for the Abyssal Mask. Amplifying the non-existent AP damage doesn't seem like the play, but look, at least it's a quick, cheap item that you can try and pick up.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's probably the thought process here is, hey, I need a little bit of MR. I'm going to be dying to this Azir. What's something that I can buy quickly? What's something that I can afford now? And probably in looking towards that. There is that third item. The Cyrilda is now done for Yagao, and it is going to be a move towards LDR here for Elk because he's got his last whisker completed. So is working towards that, but it's already 3 items done for Light. It's already 3 items done for Xiaohu. It's stopwatches on both. They know that it's going to be about preparing for this next fight. If you win this next fight, if you get Soul, likely you are going to World Finals. And both teams are going to be preparing as much as they possibly can, likely even popping elixirs, buying stopwatches, doing everything to be as powerful as possible.
Under 60 seconds until the next Baron spawns. You can see so many defensive wards on the side of BLG. They're looking out of their own jungle. The side of the map for Weibo is mostly dark from either side because Weibo are the ones with the lead. They're the ones constantly pushing up. They're the ones challenging BLG and trying to choke them out of the map.
They're trying to see if they can get control of this top side. You'll spot out Yagao there. Weiwei wants to go for this, but he's just going to force Yagao back. I mean, there's no one even in the area really there to try and follow up, so not sure why he wanted to commit that heavily, but Baron in 20 seconds, maybe they can use that to try and get some vision, but this might be the time for BLG to strike back.
Yeah, you can see that BLG do have quite a few wards on their side of the top side jungle, so trying to at least maintain the ability to step up and ward over the wall to check on that Baron pit. But they're going to move in now and try to clear away some of this vision as the Baron will spawn. We'll see if they can get that pink ward out of the pit.
It does mean, though, like, when you're coming into this, Weiwei not really in this position before. Xun hasn't been in this position before, and now it might come down to a smite fight.
They're rushing it. TheShy is bottom. There's no teleport available for the Orn, and Maokai still has no ulti. Weiwei's the target. They gotta try to keep him away. The Ksante focusing the enemy jungler, going all out to take him all the way to the other side of the jungle. Bin will likely die for this, but they get the Baron on the side of BLG. Weibo get 1 kill back. But what else can they find?
Really gutsy call there from BLG. TheShy makes a critical mistake. He shows bot. They just commit to it instantly. TP forward. They started up because TheShy had no TP. The question is, can there be turrets taken back? Obviously, the 1 kill for the Baron, really worth it here for BLG. We'll have to see if they can get more.
It will keep that Baron buff up though, right up until that Mountain Dragon spawns. So you should be able to reset, get these items, start to get the push, start to abuse that siege potential that you have, and then litter this bot side jungle with wards in favor of BLG.
And it's that extra injection of gold right when you need it most, when you need to be at your most powerful for these big fights. You can see some extra items coming through. The LDR did get completed. There's a BF sword for Yagao, likely going to be working towards that Shojin. We can see, more and more items coming up here. Curious to see where Bin does go with his build at this point, but critically, no major cooldowns were actually forced out from Weibo, at least in that fight, so they didn't lose stopwatches or anything like that. It is just the Baron. Of course, you don't want to give that over, but they're still in a pretty strong position here at this point. With your Azir working towards the death cap, that 4th item, when Azir hits death cap, it becomes the point where you get Q auto'd and you lose 30–40% of your health. And it becomes so difficult to step up at all against this champion.
And this is for Xiaohu is kind of his moment to see if he can bring it back. For Xiaohu hasn't had the best of the World Championships, and now he's got to see if he can try and be that late game damage dealer for Weibo, see if he can finally get that World Championship title under his belt.
BLG stepping into the enemy jungle, looking to steal away the red buff, but it's Weiwei who's faster on the smite, giving that one over to Light there with a pickup.
Xiaohu, he has 1 MSIs, he's 1 LPLs. He's never even been to a World Finals, right? So that would be the first there.
That's Kalista ultimate used from Light. They're going in, they're trying to find something, but they won't get anything.
Well, they did TP mid, so they're going to keep pushing. So now they're going to try to draw them out towards mid lane. They have full mid lane prio. If you don't back for this, you're going to lose a lot.
TheShy has already lost a lot. He's already lost 2/3 of his HP. Shun staying after him, finds the slow, but no more so far. Xiaohu on the flank might have an opportunity here for a pincer. Weiwei's going to be taken low, flashes back over the wall, just barely staying alive. Xiaohu's got the Sun Disc. He'll stay protected thanks to that.
But they can't stop the base. If Shy gets back to base, he's just going to TP right back at full health. We'll see, though. Weibo can just play for mid. The bot side is going to be controlled here by BLG, but they did use quite a bit to get that damage down. Nice chunk. That trap placement was perfect there from Elk, and Weiwei is so low.
All right, Weibo still facing down a difficult situation. Weiwei on low health, Crisp still at about half, some ulti still spent. Light does not have Kalista ulti ready to use here in this fight. Weiwei's gonna get jumped on. Bin goes in, he's all out. He takes the enemy jungler away back over the wall, but he escapes into the Sun Disc. The Lux ulti comes over the top, and Bin is unstoppable. But what about the fight back in the Drake pit? The handshake onto Shun, who flashes away to stay alive. The dragon is secured. It's stolen away. Kalista of Light manages to steal the soul as Yagao wants to turn around, but he can't do it. Light's gonna go up to his R2. It's a double kill back over to the Kalista as Xiaohu kills Bin. It is so many dead on BLG.
It's Light who secures it, but it's Crisp with the hostile takeover that pushes Shun out, that buys the space for Light to secure it, and it's Weibo on the march. How much can they get?
Elk is up. The reset from On. It's 4 versus 2. The bot lane for BLG needs to make the miracle hold.
It's 15 seconds on Shun. It's Caitlyn Lux against everything. The minions are still coming. TheShy taking a little bit of damage here. They're going to be stunned up. No damage enough just yet. Finally, TheShy's going to drop on an Elk. Still holding on. A little bit more damage from the Luxy. Handshake back at Elk, but he ain't going to die just yet. Shun comes in, but he will not find the ulti connection. They're still getting away. Xiaohu, the ace in the hole comes through, but Crisp does a good job blocking it. Shun still chasing. Light is down. Crisp and Xiaohu running away. TP's coming in. Yagao wants some. Accelerated shock blast doesn't hit, but Crisp is slow. Renata doesn't get away from these. Bailout's not going to bail anything just yet. And Yagao with a counter punch.
BLG have to push, and they have to try to do something right now. They can't afford to let anyone get away because the soul is going to be there for good, but they have no wave. It doesn't look like they're going to be able to get anything really much off this. Now they're going down mid. They can't stop the Azir, so he'll get back to base. And Yagao is not with the team, does not have TP, so it's just going to be that tier 2 mid. It's not nearly enough.
If Xiaohu had gone down, that could have been Weibo going with him. The fact he managed to escape over the back wall with so many members of BLG chasing him might have just changed the outcome of this game, but it's still a long way from over and a minute until Baron. And when you've got an nearly open Nexus, you have to be so careful as BLG as to how you play this.
I mean, this is just insanity. They try to go for the push here. This is way back to that previous fight has been, goes all out, pushes out Weiwei. But it's really all about the fight around the dragon. The hostile takeover from Crisp, he has been such a difference maker. Watch as he uses the hostile takeover, it pushes out Shun. They just go aggressive on Shun. He flash handshakes him, first of all. He flashes out right in the hostile takeover. That puts him out of range. early smite as well came through there from Xun. He knew he was going to die during the hostile takeover, and I think he just panicked. He wasn't going to be in range, so it allowed Light to secure it. That is game-changing. What a play from Crisp.
And that's the thing, is that in this game, it feels like it's the players that haven't been in these situations that are standing up for the respective squads. On and Elk with a miracle hold here to keep Weibo off for so BLG could respawn, but even Light as well, having an insane performance to get us into this position. Weibo and BLG
We gotta go back to
are having
live.
an insane game.
we got to get back to live here. The chase obviously goes on a little bit longer. We know Yagao comes in and kills Crisp. The dance in the mid lane continues as the coaches have to be on their edge of their seats for either side. Horn summoned. Light Binding's not going to block anybody. Instead, they're just going to collapse it. Orn is dead. Hostile takeover locks down Xun. It's 2 kills back over to Weibo. BLG is on the run.
That's it.
And Weibo is on the victory march.
They're going to push here. They're going to go for it.
Weibo have the Nexus in their sights. The super team needed to come alive, and semifinals is where they look to do it.
BLG 3v5. It would take more than a miracle to hold him off here. Bin with a handshake back into the team. He's not going to live through this one. Xiaohu throws out their soldiers, and Yagao loses Guardian Angel. Bin trying to find a little bit of damage onto the Shy, but it ain't going to be enough as Elk tries to go forward with a 90 caliber net, but it doesn't matter. It won't do a damn thing. Weibo, through all the doubt, through all the disbelief, will